Hi, I'm Colin Dyroff, and I'll be leading today's webinar training. So I wanted to welcome everyone to the UIC Data Application Comprehensive Training webinar. In this webinar, we will discuss and demonstrate how state and regional staff can use the new application to submit and review UIC inventory and Form 7520 data. This training webinar is one of 4 training webinars being held in October and November. Links to this presentation, as well as various other supporting materials, are available on the landing page of the application and will be posted at the website epa.gov/UIC. The purpose of this webinar is to help UIC programs understand what the UIC data application is and how programs can use it to submit and review UIC inventory and Form 7520 data. We will start with a quick refresher on the UIC data application and the development timeline for completion. We will then demonstrate how user testers can access the application and discuss the workflow that each record goes through. From there, we will show how there are 2 methods that users will be able to enter data: manual data entry and batch upload. We will demonstrate each of these methods so that users understand how they can perform these functions for both inventory and Form 7520 data. Note that batch upload was the subject of a previous training webinar and that other materials are available for further detail on how to use the batch upload templates. Next, we will show the reporting services that are available in the application, and after all the features of the application have been explained and demonstrated, we will provide more information about the user testing process. And finally, we will recap what we have learned and provide a way for you to ask any questions you may have. So just to recap again what the new application is. Recently, the way that programs have reported data to EPA was 3-pronged. The first way was Form 7521 through Form 7524 as hard copy. The second is through the Inventory and Measures Reporting Service, or IMRS, and then the third is through the National UIC database. And so the new application that is being developed will replace those 3 mechanisms and will serve as a one-stop shop for 7520 1 through 4 and well inventory data submission. And it will house, in addition to that, it will house various reporting and analysis tools that the UIC programs may find useful. So this slide shows some key dates in the development of the new UIC data application. In February of 2018, the National UIC database was discontinued. During spring and summer of this year, we at EPA contracted a developer to create the new application. Development is now complete, and EPA is currently holding the user testing, and that's what you guys are going to be a part of. For end-of-year reporting, remember that for federal fiscal year 2018 reporting, what you're doing now, you should continue to submit your hard copy Form 7520s, and inventory should continue to be submitted through IMRS. This new application will not be the means of, or this will not be the medium through which you submit your UIC data until mid-year reporting for FY 2019. And again, EPA will hold additional training webinars in spring of 2019 in preparation for mid-year reporting. So what we'll do first is we'll discuss and demonstrate how programs can access and navigate the new UIC data application. So the application is web-based, so that means you can access it via your web browser. We found that there are some bugs currently with accessing the application through Internet Explorer, but we haven't encountered any issues with accessing it in Google Chrome. During the user testing process, the application can be found at the URL displayed here on this slide. Each person who has expressed interest in user testing should now have received an email address or an email with their individual username and password. If you have not received an email with this information, please send an email to uicdatacollection@epa.gov and we'll get you your login information. And once the application goes live, you'll be able to access these slides from the home page. Oh, I'm sorry, and once the application goes live next year, the URL you see here on the screen will become inactive. That's because we'll be moving the site from behind our contractor. We'll be moving the application from our contractor server to behind the EPA firewall, and so we'll have to get everyone new login credentials. So after logging in, users will be directed to the home screen. You can return to the home screen at any time by clicking the EPA Underground Injection Control banner at the top of the page. The home screen for state and regional users contains drop-down menus for well inventory, 7520s, and reports modules. The drop-down menus for grant allocation model and administration are only available to headquarters users with admin permissions. And below the images of the UIC wells are the various links to user support materials that I've mentioned. On the left, the user testing feedback form can be downloaded by each user tester, so everyone here can download that form and use it to record your feedback, anything that you find during user testing. The training materials are in the middle, and those will include a copy of today's training, as well as a recording and the slide notes from the batch upload training webinar in September. And in addition, there will be a copy of the comprehensive, or of the user manual for the application. And then on the right are the four batch upload templates that we'll be discussing later. Use those to do the batch upload. And then finally, in the upper right corner of the screen are your name and the logout button. So as will be discussed, data can be submitted in two ways for all UIC data. Those two ways are manual data entry via web forms and batch upload. Either way, the submission of data starts the workflow in which data is submitted and reviewed in a specific order. And that's what I'm going to be discussing here. So when a new inventory or 7520 data is entered, it becomes part of a record, and each record goes through a specific workflow where it is reviewed and approved by the EPA region and then by EPA headquarters. So there are four statuses that a record can take, and they'll be represented on this slide by a box with the text inside representing the status. So the four statuses are draft, under EPA region review, submitted to headquarters, and final. So when a primacy agency first creates a new record for inventory or 7520, it has draft status. In draft status, a primacy agency can enter numbers as well as save a partially complete record and edit it later. When a primacy agency is ready, they can press the button Submit to EPA Region, and the status will change to Under EPA Region Review. With this status, the record can no longer be edited by the primacy agency. The EPA region will then review the record and can make changes if necessary. The EPA region can use the button Return to Primacy Agency to return the record to draft status, or they can use the button Submit to EPA Headquarters to move the record into Submitted to Headquarters status. Here, EPA Headquarters can review the record and either kick it back to Under EPA Region Review status or to draft status, or they can use the button to finalize it. When a record is final, or when a record is in final status, it can no longer be edited unless headquarters unlocks the record. And note that whenever a record changes status, an email notification is automatically sent to all of the relevant parties. So what this slide is showing is the workflow for primacy agencies, and obviously for DI programs, there's one less step. So a record starts in draft status, and then it's automatically or the next step from draft is just submitting to EPA headquarters. So their workflow looks a little bit simpler, where we've taken out that the status of submitted to EPA region. So what we'll do next is we'll discuss and demonstrate how programs can manually enter UIC inventory data in the application. Manual data entry is accomplished via web forms. The other method of data entry, batch upload, will be discussed later on. So we'll talk about manual data entry for inventory first, and then we'll show manual data entry for 7520 data, and then we'll go into batch upload. So to begin the process of manually entering inventory data, a user should click the drop-down menu in the well inventory module and select inventory. This will take the user to the inventory list view shown in the screenshot on the right, which we're going to blow up here on the next slide. This slide shows a screenshot of the inventory list view. The list view contains a table where each row represents a well inventory record for a particular year. For instance, the first row represents the 2018 inventory for U.S. EPA Region 4, DI, in Florida. The second row represents the 2018 inventory record for Alaska Oil and Gas Conservation Commission. And associated with each record is an edit button or a record locked button. If a record has an edit button, then the user will be able to open the record and make changes as long as the record is still in draft status and not under EPA region review or EPA headquarters review. The status column shows the status of the record. The different statuses that a record can take, we already discussed. Next, there are columns showing the fiscal year, primacy agency code, primacy agency, state or tribe, and so forth. These fields are what we refer to as header data. And to the right of the header data fields are the inventory data fields. And they're, they're exactly as you'd see them in IMRS. So you see Class 1 HW wells, Class 1 other wells. Those are exactly as they were in IMRS, so you should be familiar with those. To the right are two different filter options. The user can use the drop-down list in the section to filter by primacy agency or by fiscal year. So to create a new record, the user would select New Well Inventory at the top right of the screen. And when you do this, this is the form that will pop up on your screen. In order to create the record, header information is required to be entered. So all inventory records require a fiscal year. 7520 records, as we will see, also require a fiscal quarter. Then all records need a primacy agency. You can use the drop-down list to select the primacy agency. Next, users will need to select the radio button for either state or tribe in the program type section. All primacy agencies should select state except for Navajo Nation and Fort Peck, which would select tribe because they are primacy tribes. DI programs would select state or tribe depending on whether they are reporting state or DI tribal data. And finally, depending on the program type selection, either a state or tribe drop-down list will be displayed. Select the applicable state or tribe and press Next at the top right to continue creating the record. So the next screen you would arrive at is shown here. Notice that the header information is displayed at the top. Population and area are also displayed as these data are used in the UIC grant allocation formula, but reporting programs shouldn't really be concerned with updating these numbers. To the right of this area, the application displays the status of the record, and in this case, the record is in draft status. Below the header data are 5 different tabs titled Well Summary, Well Specific, prior year's comparison, history, and record details. The well summary tab is shown by default, but the other tabs can be clicked on to be shown. In the well summary tab, users are able to manually enter well inventory for each well class, but only well classes associated with a particular primacy agency and state are shown. After entering well inventory, users should click the blue Save button at the top of the screen, and when ready, users can also use the Submit to EPA region to move the records through the workflow. What we'll do next is actually go into the application and show you in real time what that actually looks like, manually entering or creating and entering a new 75 or a new inventory record. So I go into my web browser. I need to log in. You'll get your username and email, or username and password in an email, and you land here on the home page where you have your feedback form that you would download and put in any feedback you have during user testing and then send to this email address here, uicdatacollection@epa.gov. The training materials, so this will have the user manual as well as you can download the slides that I've been using today, as well as slides and a video recording of the batch upload training webinar from September, and then the batch upload templates, which we'll be discussing later. To create a new well inventory record, you click the drop-down button in the well inventory module and select inventory. You arrive at the list view and you click new well inventory. So I'm just going to create one for 2018 for Arkansas Department of Environmental Quality. So I selected that. It already knew that this was a state and not a tribe, and it already automatically selected Arkansas for me based on my primacy agency code selection. Press next. That shouldn't be the case, but we'll choose somewhere else. Alaska Oil and Gas Conservation Commission. I did test these beforehand, so we'll just try a random tribe here. If you're an EPA region and you are entering tribal data, you would select the tribal radio button and then go in and select the tribe from your region. And then you press next. So you arrive here at the landing page, the well summary tab. You have your header data at the top, the year, primacy agency, tribe name, and then you can see your record is in draft status because it's brand new. And you have the boxes that you can enter in numbers for well inventory for each well class that you have primacy for. So for instance, I could say that I have 10 class 1 hazardous waste wells and 500 class 5 wells. When I am happy, I'll press save, and that'll save those numbers. Now, for inventory, we allow submission of well summary inventory, which is what I just entered. So I just entered in that we have 10 class 1 hazardous waste wells. You also have the option, instead of giving the number 10, you can list what each of those 10 wells are, and the application will do the math and recognize that you have 10 class 1 wells. So we call that the well-specific inventory submission. So you have the option of giving well summary or well-specific information, and the application will be able to work with both. So if you are someone who's interested in giving the more detailed well-specific data instead of well summary, you would click here on the well-specific tab. And here you can add each well individually using this blue button to add well-specific inventory. some of the fields are going to be required, such as well type or well summary class. So you're required to give either the well type or the well summary class. Well type is this more detailed classification system where class 1 wells can fall into one of 6 categories. So you can select one of those 6 for class 1 well, or you can simply just say it's class 1 has or class 1 other, which are the well classes that you're familiar with from IMRS. It will accept either one. So I'm going to report a class 3 well that I have. I'm required to give it a well ID. So I'll do well 123, the alphanumeric. Just has to be unique to this well. You can enter in a well name, it's not required. For class 3, and only for class 3, you're required to put in a well site, and that's because we collect site data for class 3 as well as well inventory. So I'll put in the unique ID for this well site. It'll be well site ABC. And then you're required to put in an operating status. That's because only wells that are active, under construction, temporarily abandoned, or proposed are included in well inventory. And so if you put in a permanently abandoned well, you have the option of providing that information, but it will not be included when the application aggregates your well summary data. So we'll just say this is an active well, and you can give the operating status date, which is the date that it became active, or you can leave that blank and it'll assume that the date was January 1st, 1900. You can enter in latitude and longitude, or you can leave those blank. The same thing goes for county, facility ID, facility name, and comments. So I've entered in the minimum amount of information for this well, and I'm going to press save. It was a class 3 well. And you can see that it's now listed here in the table. And if I go back to the well summary tab, the 10 that I put in is still here for class 1. The 500 is still here for class 5, but these are new here. For class 3, it's recognized that I input one class 3 well, and that well was found in one class 3 site. And these are calculated values now, so if I'm clicking on these, I can't change them. They're not editable. And you can also know that they're calculated because there's this calculator icon next to the number. So we looked at the well summary tab and the well specific tab. There are 3 other tabs: prior year's comparison, history, and record details. In the prior year's comparison tab, it shows the well inventory for this primacy agency tribe combination for various years. So this particular tribe that I've chosen has not reported well inventory for previous years. If they had, there would be a row here for 2017, a row for 2016, and so forth. And that would allow programs to compare data from year to year and see if there are any anomalies that jump out. Kind of a rudimentary QA/QC step. The history tab, anytime you submit a record to headquarters or to the region, or the region submits it back to the state, ask them to change something, that all gets recorded in a log here in the history tab. And in addition, you can just add a comment by clicking this button and enter in any information that you'd like to record about this particular record, and that will be kept here in the history tab. And if you put in an email recipient, then that person will receive an email notification when you press submit that a comment has been added to this record. And then finally, the record details tab shows who created it and when, who updated it last and when was it submitted and by whom. So that is how an inventory record is created through manual data entry. we're going to go back to the PowerPoint presentation. And the next thing we're going to go through is we're going to discuss and demonstrate how programs can manually enter 7520 Form 1 through 3 data. It's going to be mostly the same process, but there are going to be a few differences, and I'm going to highlight those differences. So again, the process of manually entering 7520 data begins by clicking the drop-down arrow in the 7520 module, and in that drop-down menu you can see you can click on each of the 5 7520 forms, and in the example I'm going to go through, I'm going to select 7521 and I'm going to create a brand new 7521. When you click that, you can, on the right is the screenshot of the list view, and I'm blowing it up again here. So let me go back. The list view again contains a table where here each row represents a 7521 record for a particular fiscal year and quarter. So for instance, the first row represents the fiscal year 2018 fiscal quarter for 7521 record for U.S. EPA Region 5 DI in Michigan. Fourth quarter is used for end-of-year reporting, and 2Q is used for mid-year reporting. Associated with each record, in the edit column is either an edit button or a record locked button. If a record has an edit button, then the user will be able to edit it and make changes as long as it's in draft status. The second column displays a button in the form of a printer icon, and clicking this button brings up a filled-in PDF copy of the 7520 form associated with the record, and I'll demonstrate that on the next slide. You can see it's set up similarly, where there's a status column showing the status of the record, which we discussed in the workflow. And then we have columns for fiscal year, fiscal quarter, primacy agency code, state, tribe, etc. Those are all the header data. And then to the right of the header data fields are information on when and by whom the record was most recently modified. At the top are 2 different filter options. The user can use the drop-down list in this section to filter by primacy agency or by fiscal year. And then to create a new 7521 record, select New 7521 at the top right of the screen. So go back, that printer icon that's associated with each row, there's one of those printer icons on each row. If you click that, this is what shows up in a pop-up box on your screen. So it's basically a PDF version of the 7520. So any information that you've manually entered in or batch uploaded populates in an exact replica of the paper 7520 form. Everything goes into the box where it's supposed to be.
Can I ask a question about?
Again, in order to create a new record, header information is required to be entered. The only difference here between this and inventory is that fiscal quarter is a field that you have to enter. 2Q is used for mid-year, 4Q is used for end of year. You enter in the primacy agency, choose state or tribe, and then choose the specific state or tribe, and then press next. This is the screen that you'll be taken to. And again, notice that the header information is displayed at the top. The application also displays the status of the record with the header data. And in this case, the record is in draft status. Below the header data are 4 different tabs titled 7521 Detail, Attachments, History, and Record Details. The 7521 Detail tab is shown by default. And here, users are able to enter 7521 data for each applicable well class. Note again that only well classes that you have primacy for are shown. So In this example, Alaska Oil and Gas Conservation Commission is only able to enter data for Class 2 wells. I also want to point out the icon containing a circle with a question mark inside. So clicking this icon will bring up the reporting guidance for the associated data element that's found on the back of the hard copy 7520 form. After entering data, users should click the blue Save button, and when ready, users can also use the Submit to EPA Region button. So I'll go in and demonstrate this in the application. I click on the drop-down menu for the 7520 module and select 7521 to create that type of form. I see my list view with all of the 7520-1 forms that I have access to, and I select New 7521. I'll do a second quarter Arkansas Department of Environmental Quality 7521. And now I can see that this particular primacy agency has primacy for Class 1, 3, 4, and 5. They don't have primacy for Class 2, so they're not able to enter data. The rows are in the exact same order they were on the paper 7520 form. And you can select Edit to enable editing and click on each one of these cells, enter numbers, and you can even tab across to the next cell and enter in any 7520 data you need. And when you're done, you press Save. Another thing that's unique to the 7520 manual data entry page is the Attachments tab. So a lot of programs will attach PDF documents or other types of files to their 7520 submissions, and with the new application, this is where those programs can go to do that. They would just press this Attach Files button, and then a system dialog box will come up and allow them to just upload files. And we have a History tab, which is the same as before, as well as the Record Details tab, which is the same as before. And then once the primacy program is happy with how everything looks, they can press Submit to EPA Region. And this box comes up. This shows the PDF version of the 7520. So let me zoom in on this a little bit. You can see here that the random numbers I just entered in the manual entry form are here populated where they should be. This is an exact replica of the paper form. The primacy program's name is here, as well as the person who filled out the form, the date, and all that information. And then you'll notice that at the bottom there's a certification statement that you're used to reading and signing here in the box. So we've replicated that certification statement down here below and given it a checkbox. So this serves the same purpose as signing your name, because the application knows who's signed in and therefore knows who's clicking that box and signing. Your name's right here. You can enter in any comments you have, and then this is a Arkansas submission. So these are all the regional contacts that Arkansas, or that should be made aware of an Arkansas submission, and these are people who are going to receive email notifications of this submission. But the program can enter in additional email recipients if they would like. And finally, when they're ready, programs can press Submit. And the status is changed from draft to under EPA Region Review. So that was how So that was how you manually enter 7521 through 3 data. I'll go through it again very quickly and show some differences with the way it works for 7524 submissions. So you then navigate down through the drop-down menu. You get to the list view for 7524 and you click New 7524. Enter in the fiscal year, and now for fiscal quarter, not only can you enter 2Q or 4Q, you can also enter in 1Q and 3Q. So that's because the 7524 can be reported quarterly. Enter in primacy agency, select state or tribe, select state, and then click next. And you'll arrive here at the data entry 7520-4 form. You can see the header information at the top. You can see the tabs that you can click through. And you'll see that you can either enter, you can click this blue button to add violations, or if you have no violations, you can report that as well by clicking No Wells to Report. And when ready, you can use the Submit to EPA Region button at the top. If you were to click that button, the second blue button, the one on the right, Add 7520-4 Well, you would see this box pop up, and this is where you can enter the details about the well that you're reporting on your 7524. Required fields are indicated by a red asterisk. You're required to enter at least one violation for each well, but you're not required to have any enforcement actions for that violation, and you're not required to have compliance achieved date for that violation, because it could just be an orphan violation that hasn't been addressed yet. And in addition, one violation can have multiple enforcement actions. So we're going to go into the application and show you guys what that looks like. Navigate through the 7520 module to the 7524. Click to create a brand new 7524 record. And here I can choose, I'll choose third quarter of 2018 for the same primacy agency. And I can either select no wells to report, or I can add a well. Here I have to give it a well ID number, so I'll do well ID or well 123. Give it a well class and type. These well classes and types are a bit different than you've seen so far, and that's just something that's unique to the way that 7524 was built. So class 1 is either hazardous, municipal, or industrial. That's the key difference here. So we'll give it a class 5 SNC. You can enter an owner, operator, street address, city, state, and zip. And then you're required to have the violation date. And that's going to have to be sometime before third quarter of 2018. So I'll just go back and enter in first quarter information, choose the violation type, and at this point I'm not going to put in enforcement or compliance achieved information. And I press next. So the violation has appeared here in this table, and then when I'm ready, do save and exit. And you can see here's the record that I just put in for this well. When you're ready to submit this to the EPA region, you click this button, Submit to EPA region, and again, the PDF version of the form shows up. It'll look just like the 7524 form. Where the well ID is well 123. It was a It was from December of 2017, and it was a plugging and abandonment violation, so there's an X here. There's a certification statement, and you can click that to sign and submit. So what we'll do is we'll discuss next how programs can use the batch upload feature to automatically enter UIC inventory and 7520 data. This can save programs a lot of time who have a lot of forms that they need to create. So you don't have to go in and create them all individually. You can use batch upload. But in order to use the batch upload feature, programs will need to use the 4 batch upload templates. And for convenience, these templates are available for download from the home page of the application. And I'll note again that a separate training webinar was held on September 25th of 2018, earlier this year. And that training goes into extensive detail on how the batch upload feature, how to use the batch upload feature and the batch upload training. So links to the video recording of that training as well as a PDF copy of the training slides are available from the application homepage. Today's training will briefly cover batch upload, but it is recommended that you go back and look at the September materials. So before getting into too much detail, I want to spend a little bit of time helping you understand what the purpose of the batch upload templates is. So there are 2 ways that you'll be able to enter data in the application. We've talked so far about web forms. The second way that users will be able to enter data is via batch upload. So to use the batch upload process, users will need to format data in a specific format in accordance with the batch upload template that we've distributed in either an Excel or a CSV file. And then what users can do is log into the application and use a wizard to select and upload that file containing the data. This slide shows the process for the use of the batch upload functionality. So data that is initially held in your program database is queried and exported into an Excel or CSV file. Again, that has to be formatted according to the templates that EPA has provided, and then the file is uploaded into the application and the data submission is complete, and then you can go in and submit it onto the region or onto headquarters. And if uploading an Excel file, I want to point out that it works a lot better if you format everything as text. So I'm just going to go right into a live demonstration here. If you go to the application homepage again, you can download batch upload templates. There are 4 of them. The first one is what you would use to batch upload 7520 Form 1 through 3 data. The second template is for 7524 data. The third is for summary well inventory data, and the fourth is for well-specific inventory data. So if you click on the first one, you'll download the template. I've already downloaded it and have it here ready to go. It's an Excel file, and you'll notice that there are 6 worksheets down at the bottom. I'm going to go through what each of these worksheets is. The first worksheet is the README worksheet. In this worksheet, there's just an explanation of how you can interact and how you can use this file. So it'll explain what you can expect to see in each one of these tabs. The second worksheet is the template itself. This is what you would actually use to, this is the format you would use when you're actually doing a batch upload. Your first row would actually be the header, the field names, and so your template actually wouldn't have any of this explanatory text. I'll delete that. The first row would be the field names, and you'll notice that they're listed across horizontally. The first 7 or so field names are all your header data, so your primacy agency, what year is it, fiscal quarter is it, region, state, tribe, well class. That's all header data. And then going across to the right, we encounter 7520 Form 1 data elements, and they're listed left to right in the same order they appear on the 7520 form. So I'm going to scroll across and show you guys what this looks like. Going across to the right, we're going down to 7521, and we get to column AB, and now we're on to the 7522A data elements. I keep going. Now we're on to the 7522B data elements, and if I keep going, I get all the way over to the 7520-3, and this goes all the way over to column DB, which is the last data element on the 7523. So what do any of these abbreviations even mean is something you might be asking yourself. You know, it's hard to guess exactly what IND permit new means, so that's why we've built a field key. That's the next worksheet here, and the field key defines each of these abbreviated field names. And what's listed here horizontally is listed, it's transposed vertically here in the field key worksheet. So these are your 6 or 7 header data fields, and then if you keep going down, you see the 7521 data elements and so forth going down vertically. The first header data field is primacy agency code. And so each primacy agency has been assigned a unique 4-digit or 4-character code. So you'll need to enter that in on any line that you're uploading. What is your code? It says, please see worksheet primacy agency codes in this file. So that's right here, primacy agency codes. If I go here, there's a list of all 69 primacy agencies and the name of the primacy agency and the code. So I've been doing a lot of examples with Arkansas Department of Environmental Quality. So their primacy agency code is AREQ. Going back to the field key, the next field is federal fiscal year. So when you do a batch upload, you need to upload a 4-character fiscal year. You need to enter in a 2-character fiscal quarter. So that would be 1Q, 2Q, 3Q, or 4Q. Region should be a 2-digit region. So region 1 would be 01, although the app should be able to recognize just the number 1. State should be the full name of the state, not just the 2-character postal abbreviation. And then tribe should be the BIA code for a specific tribe. So we've also included a worksheet called Tribe Codes. And here we have the name of all the tribes and their BIA code. So you can look up your tribe. You can also sort and filter by region and by state to narrow down your search for your tribe to find the BIA code. And there's also a column for the EPA tribal ID if you are looking to match with that. And then finally, the well class. And these are the ways, you know, this shows exactly how you should be entering in well class. Just number 1 for class 1, 2R for class 2R, and so forth. And then for the data elements from the 7520 forms, I said, okay, the example I used previously was IND permit new. What does that mean? Well, here's the description of what exactly that is. And then I can even see that it's a field from the 7521, and the form section is 6A, new wells. So I can locate exactly where on the 7520 form each of these fields is. The only worksheet I haven't gone through is the 7520 1 through 3 example worksheet. So here we have some comment bubbles with some things that you should keep in mind. I'm going to hide those for now because I'm going over what they are. and you guys don't need to be reading them right now, but they are there for your enjoyment. This is a filled out. This is an example of what your batch upload template would look like filled out. Here, the primacy agency is 03DI, so these are all Region 3 direct implementation records. They're all for fiscal year 2018, fourth quarter, and they're all for Region 3. They're able to upload data from multiple states in the same batch upload file. So for Pennsylvania, they are uploading Class 2 and Class 5 data. Now, the system is smart enough to realize that Pennsylvania also has primacy for the other well classes, Class 1, 3, and 4. So the system, well, when you upload this file, the application will create blank, or will put zeros in for those other well classes. And you'll also notice that you don't need to put zeros in every cell here. You can leave them blank, and the application will interpret blanks as zeros. So I'm going to go through an example of actually uploading one of these files. The thing is that in this template that we've sent out, that we've provided, there are 6 worksheets across the bottom. A file that you upload, that you use for batch upload, can only have 1 tab across the bottom. If there are more than 1 tab, then the application will give you an error. So what I've done is I've just created a separate one for this example where there's only 1 tab. It doesn't matter what it's called. It's called Sheet 1 in this example. And I put in some dummy data for Region 8 DI, some for fourth quarter, some for second quarter, and then some data for Colorado, Montana, South Dakota. There are zeros here, but they could be blank. I could just leave those blank and they would count as zeros. So I can save this as an Excel file or a CSV file. And I go to my application, click the 7520 drop-down, go down to import. This is a batch upload just under the import menu. And it's a 7520 1 through 3 file. I click there. And this is the wizard that I mentioned. This will take me through the process of batch uploading. It's pretty simple. I just click to choose the file that I just created. It's right here. Press open and press next. The data preview slide or the data preview screen is just showing me how the application is reading what I just uploaded. If I press next, it gets to the data validation screen where the application is running some checks in the background and hasn't produced any errors. And so at the top it says 0 errors found. If there were errors, they would be included here in the cell here, and they would be descriptive, so you would know what you would need to do to go back and fix those errors. The import status column also shows that these are brand new records that I'm importing. If there was already a record that I am overwriting, in a sense, then this would say update instead of new. When I'm ready, since there are 0 errors, I'm free to click load data. And it's telling me that I'm successful in creating the 7520 forms for Montana, South Dakota, and Colorado. So if I were to go back into the list view for one of those, I can see, I can use this search bar to search for South Dakota. And you can see this is the record that I just created for 2018 fourth quarter and last modified by myself. And this is the timestamp for that modification. So I'm going to shift gears next and discuss the reporting module and how you guys can use the reporting module to download and analyze data. To begin, you use the drop-down menus, and you can select either data downloads or click reports. I'll discuss each of those sequentially. If you select data downloads, you see a list of 4 data download reports. I'll show you guys what it looks like for the first one. That's called Well Inventory Summary. This is a screenshot of that data download. So at the top are filters for fiscal year and primacy agency. The search bar can be used to quickly filter the records, which I just showed you how I use the search bar to search for South Dakota. To the right of the search bar is the actions menu, which I'll be discussing in detail on the next slide, or in a coming slide. And below that is the data listing, which is a table of all of the applicable data based on the data download report selected and any sorting and filtering options that you've used. The example in this screenshot is for summary well inventory, so each row shows the well inventory for a particular set of primacy agency, year, state, etc. And then clicking the download button downloads everything currently displayed on the data listing into a CSV file. And I want to note that historical data is still being checked for accuracy, so don't worry if something doesn't look right. In the data listing, each column heading can be clicked, and once clicked, a menu appears with options to sort ascending, sort descending, hide column, create a control break, and filter. The actions menu is a very useful tool for data filtering, sorting, and analysis. So when it's clicked, a list of options appears. Options include advanced filtering, creating bar, line, and pie charts, creating pivot tables, data download, add or remove columns, sort, aggregate, and compute using expressions, advanced sorting, and save report. And save report is especially useful because it allows you to save different types of filtering, sorting, and charting so that you don't have to recreate those views every time you go into the reports module. And for more information in detail on how these various functions work, I would refer you to the user guide linked from the home page. Here in the app, I'll show you what that looks like. You go to the data downloads, click on data downloads in the report module. You can select one of 4 data download reports. The one I was showing was well summary inventory, summary well inventory. And you can see the well inventory that's in there, and you can just click to download that, or before you download it, you can click a column heading and do different filters or sorting, or you can use the actions menu to do any of that stuff before you download it. The second option in the reports menu or module is click reports, and click is just the name of the software platform that's being used to produce the reports. They're not currently ready for user testing, but they will be ready next year when the application goes live. The problem is just the fact that they're behind the EPA firewall, and getting everyone access to that is not ready at this time. But when they are ready, you'll be able to access them using your web browser, and once you're in Click, you can view ready-made charts and graphs of all UIC inventory and Form 7520 data. And Click just makes filtering and analyzing and exporting data really very easy. So I'll shift gears again, and now I'm just going to discuss what you can expect during user testing. So user testing will run from November 13th to November 30th. This round of user testing will be open to all potential users of the application. User testers can use the feedback form to record findings. The feedback form is pictured here and can be downloaded from the application homepage. There are three columns in the feedback form. The module column should contain the module that the comment pertains to. The commenter column should contain the person's name who's reporting the feedback. And finally, the comment column should contain the feedback that the user would like to share with EPA. Users should provide enough information for EPA and our developer to be able to understand and address your findings. So during user testing, users should test all functions in the inventory 7520 and reports modules. Users should perform tasks such as entering data both manually and using the batch upload function. It may be useful to go through the exercise of entering your real data for 2018. Go through like it's something that you're actually doing. And if you're intending on entering well-specific inventory, feel free to test that as well. In addition to testing data entry, users should test the submission and review of records. So all 2017 records have been set to either draft or under EPA region review status. So states can go into their old 2017 records and practice submitting them to the region, and regions can view 2017 state submissions and either send them back to the state or submit them to EPA headquarters. Finally, users can run reports and test the various reporting services that are available. And I would recommend clicking through everything and not assuming that anything is correct. During user testing, users should look for errors and bugs and anything that does not make sense or is not intuitive, as well as anything that could be just done better or differently. Nothing is too small, and our goal is just to make the application as robust and useful as possible, so we welcome all comments. This slide shows an example of something a user might write in the feedback form. Here, the commenter's name is John Smith, and John is commenting about the well-specific portion of the inventory module. John is basically having trouble deleting individual well records. So note that John is not sure if there's a bug in the application that is not allowing him to delete the wells, or if he is simply not understanding the correct way to do so. But either way, it's good that John is reporting this in the feedback form. If it's a bug in the application, the developer will be able to fix it. And if John is having trouble figuring out how to use the delete function, then the user interface is probably not intuitive enough, and we can make improvements in that regard. So we've reached the point where we're going to be turning it back over to Jill to see if any questions have come in to the chat that she hasn't answered on the fly. If you think of any questions after this, then feel free to email us at uicdatacollection@epa.gov. And if you haven't gotten an email with your login, then you can email that as well. So I'll turn it over to Jill and see if what the chat looked like.
Thank you, Colin. It's been pretty quiet in the chat pod. Folks, we're going to give you a couple more minutes to type in any questions that you have. And while you're thinking about it and typing, I just wanted to reiterate a couple of points that are important. For the end of year, FY18 reporting, and we are in that cycle right now, we do request that you give us a hard copy form 7520, and you continue to report your inventory data to the Inventory and Measures Reporting Service. And that's for everybody, including the former e-reporters, to the National UIC database. The National UIC database was discontinued in February. It is no longer accepting data. So the only way you have to give us your end-of-year data is by hard copy form 7520 and inventory through IMRS. The other thing I wanted to reiterate, which is if you haven't already volunteered for user testing, feel free. It is not too late. You could even volunteer next week, frankly, if you wanted to. And you just need to email this UIC data collection at epa.gov email box, and we'll get you the login information that you need. They are individual accounts to the application. There isn't kind of a general account that multiple people can log into. They are specific to each user. So that's the only couple of things I wanted to reiterate. We have not had any additional questions. So if there are no additional thoughts from you, Colin, and nobody's typing anything, then we can wrap up a few minutes early.
Thank you, everyone, for listening. And again, reach out if you have any questions.